How much do you know about the Land Use Act? We've heard so many stories of people claiming they own a piece of land in Abuja and the land was taken away from them unjustly by the FCT administration, and now they want compensation. We actually followed one of such people in our focus on the nation's capital. You're going to want to watch out for that one. Our guest helps us navigate land ownership in Abuja and what the law says in the Land Use Act, as well as the basic things people need to know about land use in Abuja. And as we do every week, we take you through the major stories from Nigeria's presidency. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Megwa. Let's start by updating you on the major stories from Nigeria's presidency.
On February the 16th, 2023, President Muhammadu Buhari in his address to Nigerians gave approval to the CBN that the old 200 naira banknotes be released back into circulation and also be allowed to circulate as legal tender with the new 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira banknotes for 60 days from February the 10th to April the 10th, 2023, when the old 200 naira notes ceases to be legal tender. The president sympathized with the Nigerian people on the sufferings brought on by the implementation of a new monetary policies, which he says were aimed at boosting Nigeria's economy and tightening loopholes associated with money laundering.
To further ease the supply pressures, particularly to our citizens, I have given approval to the CBN that the old 200 naira banknotes be released back into circulation, and that it should also be allowed to circulate as legal tender with the new 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira banknotes for 60 days from February 10th, 2023 to April 10th, 2023, when the old 200 naira notes ceases to be legal tender.
Following the president's broadcast extending the validity of old 200 naira notes by 60 days, the House of Representatives Special Ad Hoc Committee on Naira Redesign, Cashless Policy and Currency Swap has declared that it is not yet Uhuru. The chairman, Mr. Adedoguwa, underscores that the law permits spending limit of 70 million naira in cash as funds for logistics for a House of Representatives candidate and up to 1 billion naira for a presidential candidate, and therefore politicians need, in his words, cash in hard copy, otherwise the party might be at a disadvantage. President Muhammadu Buhari has directed the Transition Committee headed by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation to ensure that the achievements of the HIV program are clearly highlighted in transition notes and a sustainability roadmap articulated for the incoming administration. The president gave the directive during an audience with the Ambassador of the United States to Nigeria, Mary Beth Leonard, Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Molly Fee, as well as the Director General of the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, Dr. Gambo Aliyu.
To this end, the federal government will continue to work with the leadership of the Governors Forum and the organized private sector to continue to provide adequate resources and sustainable financing for the national response to HIV.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has insisted that its February 10th deadline for the validity of old naira notes still stands. Speaking at a meeting with members of a diplomatic corps, the governor of the Apex Bank, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, explains that there is no need to shift the February 10th, 2023 deadline. The Supreme Court has joined Katsina, Lagos, Cross River, Ogun, Ondo, Ekiti and Sokoto states as co-plaintiffs in the suit challenging the naira redesign policy of the federal government. The Apex Court also joined Edo and Bayelsa states in support of the federal government on implementation of the policy. The 7-man panel, led by Justice John Okoro, also says its February 8th order barring the federal government from enforcing the February 10th deadline for the use of the old notes of the 3 highest denominations of the naira still stands, and a consolidated hearing will be held on February the 22nd. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says 240 polling units across the country do not have any registered voters, which will impede the conduct of general elections in those locations. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu made the disclosure after a meeting with political parties in Abuja.
There are 240 polling units without registered voters. No new registrants choose the polling units and no voters indicated interest to transfer to them during the last continuous voter registration exercise mainly for security reasons.
And we are in step with you as you undertake your democratic journey. That is a promise by the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Mrs. Katrina Ling, to the Nigerian people and government as the country goes into its 7th general election since its return to democracy in 1999. During a press briefing at her residence in Abuja, the British High Commissioner gives her views on Nigeria's currency redesign as well as Britain's visa ban policy on politicians engaging in election violence.
It's crucial on the 2 days, February the 25th and March the 11th, that everyone feels they can go out and exercise their democratic right to vote freely, fairly, without any intimidation.
Over 400,000 security operatives are expected to be deployed for the 2023 elections. The Inspector General of Police, Mr. Usman Al-Kalibaba, gave the figure during the weekly ministerial briefing at the State House. Listing fuel scarcity and cash crunch as threats to the peaceful conduct of the elections, the police chief expressed the belief that the situation will stabilize before the commencement of the exercise.
With this layout, a minimum of at least two personnel, drawn from the above agencies will be jointly deployed to man each of the polling units across the country, while the armed personnel will secure the public space, INEC facilities, vulnerable locations, border areas, as well as undertake armed escort duties for INEC personnel, materials, and local and international observers.
Welcome back. It's a story we've heard repeatedly. I was given a piece of land by such and such in Abuja. I started building or using it for my business, and then the FCT authorities came and took the land from me, telling me that the land originally belongs to such and such a person. I took loans to start the business or build on this land. Now I am in debt and I need compensation. Usually, I've seen this story from people who erroneously buy land from people who claim to be indigents or natives of the nation's capital. But this time, we follow a case of a quarry company that claims the land was given to them by the Federal Ministry of Mines and Steel Development. And now, the Nigerian Correctional Service has started building a prison on that land, claiming the land is legally theirs. Now, this impasse is still underway. Conversations between all parties are still ongoing. But please, watch this. This press briefing in Abuja is organized by mining entrepreneurship stakeholders. Their prayer is that the federal government expedites action on the demands for compensation over the alleged takeover of their land and business premises in Karshi, a suburb on the outskirts of the nation's capital. The land in question is a quarry run by Nino Corporation Limited, a quarry these stakeholders claim has the capacity to produce 2,500 tons of granite, boulders and dust.
This particular land and business premises is actually a quarry company operated by Nino Corporation Limited, for which some of our members have stakes. Many others run businesses of supplies, transportation services, marketing, mechanical and engineering services, sales, among others. As soon as the quarry commenced operation about a month in 2018, the federal government came into premises and started a mass construction of an ultra-modern correctional facility. This invasion disrupted production and crippled the business activities, thereby putting all the investment, including bank loans, whose interests have continued to grow by the day, at the highest risk. Many of our members and their families have been suffering the social-economic effect of this development since then.
Nino Corporation is calling foul, claiming that after just 1 month of operations on the land they claim is legally theirs, the Nigerian Correctional Service began constructing a prison on the same plot, claiming the land was originally given to them by the Federal Capital Development Authority.
Permit me to clarify an important issue about the legal ownership of the land. This quarry site, Massive Rocks, was legally obtained by Nino Corporation Limited from the Federal Ministry of Mining and Solid Mineral Development, with all necessary documentary evidences. The claim by the federal government was that the Federal Capital Territory Administration, FCTA, allocated the land to the Nigerian Correctional Services. However, after a series of meetings between the FCTA and Nino Corporation Limited, the FCTA authorities admitted to an error on their side. We want to passionately appeal to the federal government through the Ministry of Interior and Nigerian Correctional Service to consider the suffering that families and dependents of investors and workers in this quarry company have been experiencing since the past 4 years, and the burdens of interest on loans on the company, and take urgent measures with a view to addressing our demand for full compensation.
According to the quarry company, 80 members of staff have been laid off, and the company is in debt thanks to loans for the purchase of blasting and grinding equipment. They're asking for 1.5 billion naira in compensation and time to relocate to another quarry where they can carry out their businesses and pay up their debts. We make the 45-minute journey to Karshi, a suburb on the outskirts of the nation's capital, to the site in question. The equipment of the quarry is still here, while workers continue the construction of the prison. We were told that the quarry did supply the prison with a lot of the building materials they've used so far for construction. We make our way to the blasting site on this mountain range in the company of the only staff remaining at the quarry, the site supervisor and local security guards. According to the site supervisor, the last time the site was blasted was in 2018. He tells us they had to stop blasting the rock when the construction work started because the blasts were causing cracks in the buildings and the facility kept asking them to pay for the repairs to those cracks. For him, closing shop will affect his livelihood adversely.
This is why I earn my living, and I'm a family man, as you can see. My hope is that they should settle him amicably so we can remove this thing easily and take it to the site we need to stay and last longer over there. Becoming threatening us that we should pack our load out of this place. And we cannot pack out of this place without conversation. One, we inquired everything with papers. But then everything, our guy has everything that it takes to take over here. Even the rock, everything from the mining office. But now they are disturbing, they are asked us to pack, and it's not easy to pack. To pack them needs some money to remove it and to take it to better place and plan it back. So it will take us not less at least 2 years if we can remove and plan. When they do the blasting, there's no much building like this. So they see what blasting and they bring in their building closer. So when they blast, if he crack, to the extent they be asking him to pay damage. So that is why the house is not to blast again. That's why we stop it. This site we are up to 13, but many have left because of lack of payment.
So how many remaining?
Now we are remaining only 3, and we have security. You know, you cannot leave this place without security. So we, 3 of us, we do come here to see before we go. Sometimes we come here, after some hour, we left.
This is just one of the many stories of land takeover in the nation's capital. And to understand its dimensions, it's important to look at Nigeria's Land Use Act of 1978, which clearly states what ownership rights are. To paraphrase, if a piece of land is acquired without a certificate of occupancy, then all that person has is a lease. The government can seize that land or property without any form of compensation. In the nation's capital, this power rests in the hand of the Federal Capital Development Authority. And they also have the right to take over a piece of land for use in the overriding interest of the public, despite the occupant having a certificate of occupancy. However, they will have to pay compensation to the occupant. This disputed land is a solid minerals area under the control of the federal government, which allegedly was allocated to the quarry company Nino Corporation Limited through the Federal Ministry of Mines and Solid Mineral Development. The Nigerian Correctional Service disputes this, claiming that Nino Corporation was only given a license to carry out quarry activities in the area. while the Abuja Geographic Information System allocated the land with all necessary documents to the Nigerian Correctional Service. While this dispute rages on with ignored messages and cancelled meetings, it is probably time to educate residents of the nation's capital on the Land Use Act for Abuja. My guest on the program is the coordinator of the Abuja Metropolitan Management Council, Mr. Umar Shuaibu. He's Abuja's town planner. In this conversation, we get to hear the inner workings of the Land Use Act and how it's operated in Abuja. He's particular about developers and the damage they cause when they try to be fraudulent. He also speaks to us on what we need to know as potential property owners on how tight Abuja's master plan is and why adherence is key. Please watch this. Town Planner Umar Shuaibu, welcome to Dateline Abuja. We're talking about the Land Use Act today, so I'm just going to run through a few of things that we know. Tell me if I'm wrong about any of them. Number one, all the land in Nigeria is placed in the hands of the governors of the states where those lands are located. In the case of the FCT, the land in Abuja is owned by the president, and acting in the stead of the president is the FCT minister. And so the FCT authority basically owns all of the land in this place. Now, interestingly, Abuja has a master plan. So land use here is very, very tight. Talk to us a bit about this master plan and how land use in Abuja comes into the structure that has been put in place for the Abuja master plan.
District A is social population. District B is social population. District C is social population. We add everything. The number of this Abuja arrive at that number. So we have to make sure that we do not congest the city more than necessary. However,
so what happens, yes?
When we do that, we give you approval based on the development required of that area. By the time the developers go to the site, some of them start to cut corners. So while we are supposed to have only 2 families, we do based on families. We say, okay, this development, you are supposed to accommodate 2 families. And how do you assess a family? A family is a unit with a, you see, that has a kitchen, it has a living room, it has bedrooms, and further. By the time you have 2 flats, you have 2 families. By the time you have 6 flats per block, you have 6 families. So in a family, you have standard population for a family. The threshold for a family may be 3, 4, 5, depending on the size of the family. However, the development, how to accommodate, you know that yes, this is this a 3-bedroom flat? The number of people definitely will not be past a certain number of people, since it is only 2, 3, 4. So that is how we do. We cannot be perfect, however. So when we give you the building plan approval, by the time you go on site, you start cutting corners, we stop the work. If you refuse, we serve you demolition notice. If you don't comply, we demolish.
It's that simple.
So everything is made in such a way as you are properly informed. And you, if you violate, you also know.
Do residents in Abuja, how much information is out there for residents in Abuja on this matter? Because it feels like they're always so surprised when a situation happens. Oh, I didn't know, they didn't tell me, there isn't enough information out there. Is there an actual, because you're the town planner of this city, is there enough information out there for people to understand just how strict Abuja is when it comes to land use?
All developers, all property developers in Abuja are properly informed, because they cannot even obtain the building plan approval without knowing this. We have a manual, development control manual standard. Is there in development control? If not because presently, because of but all the time, it just finishes with print. It finishes with print. If you apply for building plan approval, it's mandatory for you. We give you that for you to educate yourself. The development control standard regulation of Abuja is everywhere, not even Abuja, everywhere in the country. So many universities are conducting their research based on it. It has spread everywhere. It's a template. It's a template that everybody knows. So people are involved. You cannot be even a developer in Abuja without knowing that. So the building has to be built development has to be made, the construction made before people should come in. So it is not for the people that are residing, it is for the people that are in the actual development activity. So it is well known. People are well, the only thing is that, yes, we know it, but we are trying to deviate. That's what people do.
Okay, well, before we let you go, just as a town planner, as the town planner of Abuja, what are some of the major challenges that you face? You know, what are some of the things that you see regularly that, you know, you wish people would stop doing in the nation's capital?
It's just compliance with the development standard and regulation, the rules and regulations of development in Abuja. It's simple. Just straightforward. I want you to actually pick your brain on something. I saw in the Land Use Act that sometimes if a building or a premises has been, even if the person has the certificate of occupancy of a particular place, in the public interest, can the FCT authorities actually take that place from the person in the public interest and pay compensation? Is that something that actually happens? Land Use Act is an act of the Federal Republic. It is also operational in Abuja in the aspect that concerns Abuja. If you have an allocation and then by chance it has been overtaken by event that yes, the government needs this land for a purpose, yes, they can revoke and give you compensation. That is it. That is natural, it is human. To revoke and give you compensation.
But if you don't have a certificate of occupancy?
If you don't have certificate of occupancy, number one, you have to have the allocation. Number two, you have to have the building plan approval. If you have the land allocated to you and you don't have building plan approval, when there is the need to revoke for overriding public interest, the only thing that will be considered is giving alternative, because you have not been given approval for the development that you have on that. Even if land is yours, you are not supposed to use it. You are not supposed to develop until you get the approval. We have challenges now by fraudsters. That is our major challenge now, fraudsters. People not even on the land, they will go and build on it. At times we have people cloning document, forging document that is not theirs. For example, as the regulator in development control, if you give me a document, we have to go and confirm in lands department, does this document that is submitted to us actually, is it allocated to so company that come? Yes, it is allocated to the company. We will not know that the person that submits did not submit with the consent of the actual owner. Perhaps he found the land, maybe document flying, maybe the other one to maybe people are in the act of selling their plots now and somehow, or maybe he has some access to the land records to know that this plot, and he got the document, he photocopies and bring the submission. By the time we go for our due diligence, we know that yes, it is the same for the same allotee. Unfortunately, it may not be for him. When we give approval, the actual allotee, the actual owner, when we see development in his land, he bring complaint to us. But we have given approval. But whoever we give approval doesn't have our consent. And we call whoever is on the side. How comes you submit something that is forgery? Immediately we revoke. Not revocation, we withdraw the building upfront that we give and then demolish, because whoever develop is not the owner of the plot. And we now definitely we have to send to the police, to the security to do that, because it's a forgery.
We do have to wrap it up there. I know that this is a conversation that can go on for a very long time, but we do have to wrap it up there. But thank you so much, Town Planner Umar Shuraib, for being with us on Dateline Abuja, and good luck with all the work you have ahead of you.
Thank you.
Thanks to my guest and to everyone who spoke to us today on the program. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance can cost you a lot of money, so get informed. Make sure you find out the true status of any property before you start to use it. Go to the Abuja Geographic Information System. Ensure you are in the clear with development control. Make sure whatever deal you struck does not interfere with the Abuja Master Plan. And please, speak up. Let's stop fraudsters from putting innocent Nigerians in dire straits. That's Dateline Abuja this week. Please let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles showing right now on your screens. Thank you so much for watching. I am Kayla Magwa. See you next time.